Hello everyone. Today I'm going to be showing you two different approaches to long division. One is somewhat of a traditional approach to long division. This is probably what most of your parents used when they were in school. To be honest, this is what I was taught when I was in school. I was only taught one way to do long division. It actually worked for me because I was a student who liked patterns. But this does not work for every student. Some students have trouble keeping up with the pattern. Some students are still having trouble with their facts, which in long division you definitely have to know your facts. You have to be able to retrieve them. So I'm going to teach you another method as well called the partial quotient method. And I will get to that in just a second. So at first I am going to teach you the traditional algorithm. And this, remember, is set up with what I call the den because the dividend sits inside. On the outside, I'm going to put 4 as my divisor. And remember, I taught you that the divisor is knocking at the door. So this is the den. Dividends inside, divisors at the door, and my answer or my quotient is going to be at the top. So this is traditional algorithm. I ask myself, how many times can 4 fit into 6 without going over? So you would tell me it fits in 1 time. I would then multiply, so 1 times 4 is 4. And I would subtract those two. In essence, I'm trying to figure out, I knew it didn't go in perfectly, so how many do I have left? So I would say I have 2. Bring down my 8. So now I'm working with the numbers 4 and 28. In class, I've taught you to cover this up because some students were getting confused with all of the numbers. For now, these numbers do not matter. You're just dealing with 4 and 28. And you're asking yourselves, how many times can 4 fit into 28 without spilling over? Well, this is a nice one because 4 times 7 is 28. Now remember, if you're having trouble with your facts, you need to be writing down your multiples, 4, 8, 12, 16, so that you're able to retrieve those rather quickly. Now, you can cover up again. I'm just dealing with 4 and 8. So how many times can 4 go into 8? It can fit in twice, and 4 times 2 is 8. Subtract those, and I'm left with 0 remainders. This problem is nice. My quotient is 172, and it has no leftovers. In order to decide if I'm successful or not, I can take the quotient, 172. I can multiply it by the divisor 4 to receive my answer of 688. Okay. Now I'll show you partial quotient. Partial quotient is another approach to long division, and it is a newer approach than the traditional approach. Basically, it is finding the quotient, the answer, partially, so in different parts or different chunks or different sections. This is nice for students who have trouble with patterns and following the divide, multiply, subtract, break down. And it's also great for students just because it's kind of a more creative approach. They kind of get their own choice in the matter, which a lot of students do appreciate. This is thirdly great for students who do not have great retrieval of their facts of multiplication because they are able to rely on the facts they do know and not ones that are presented to them. So in order to do this approach, you notice I set it up similarly, except that I have this long line on the right-hand side. This is going to be the area where I keep all of my partial quotients on the side for the end. Okay, so the first question I ask myself is, I start with the divisor, and I say 4 times what is going to get me something close to 688 without going over. I want to start with the biggest thing I can possibly do because my objective is to get rid of 688 or at least get it down to a really small term that 4 cannot fit into. So the first thing I could try is 4 times 100. 4 times 100 is 400. So that's going to get rid of a huge chunk of the dividend. So that's pretty successful. I would try 100 again, but I can't. That's way over 288. So let's say I wanted to try 60, right? So what is 4 times 60? 4 times 6 is 24 and it has 1 0 involved. I take that away and I receive the answer of 48. Okay, if I was a student who did not know my facts very well, I may want to stick with something simple like putting a 5 on the outside. 4 times 5 is 20, and 48 minus 20 is 28. However, I'm someone who does know my facts, so it's going to be a little simpler for me. 4 times 12 is 48. Take that away and I get 0. If you're a student who is still struggling with multiplication facts, it's okay. You will still get the answer to this. It will just take you a bit longer. In order to figure out your answer, you simply will add these up. In most cases, this will be something that you can do with mental math. 100 plus 60 plus 12 would be 172.